Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of my F-14 Persian cat build. Now this part's my most exciting, interesting, most favourite part, and that's painting the aircraft. So we're going to use the Aeromask mask set right here and paint this beautiful scheme and get it post-shaded down and weathered and looking pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so carrying on from where we left off last week, so we got this guy primed up and now we're ready for paint. So a couple things we need to do before paint I didn't mention is that we need to mask up the wheelbase, the intakes, and that's pretty much it, I think, really. Just sort of mask those up before we start painting, but I'll do that in a minute off camera. I don't want to bore you with that. But it's nice and smooth, did all the horizontal stabilizers and everybody too. Let me move this off camera somewhere safe and I'll drop it. And let's bring in the colors. And here we go. So, free markings choices. We've got this guy, which I have the mask set for, which we'll talk about in a minute, which we're going to do. Number one. You have the blue one. Looking pretty nice. And I actually really like this one. You know how, if you follow my channel, you know I love splinter camo. I've got a thing with straight line masking. I love it. So, hindsight, I kind of wish I did number 3, but we're going with the other one. But this does look awesome. Same colors. This one's splinter. We're going more of the older kind of look on this guy. So as you can see here, we've got a grey underside and a three-tone camo. Basically a tan with a couple of brown shades splattered here and there. Mr. Color is going to be our choice we're going with, and down here we have our color choices. The bottom side grey, 311. I don't know. That looks right to me. We'll give it a spray and see. HobbyBoss and Trumpeter renowned for giving you wrong color callouts. But for me, that looks a little too kind of white. So I might hold back on that one, just do a little bit more research. Actually on here, on my mask set, it tells you what color. It should be 36622. Oh, 36622. So you know what, it is right. So maybe it's just a color on here, so it's all off. So this very pale gray here, well, so HobbyBoss, I'm going with HobbyBoss, Mr. Hobby. I'm going with lacquer paints as always. 311, the grey, is going to be the underside. So the game plan here is going to be paint the underside first, the grey. We're going to mask it off, and then we'll hit the camo on top. Now, if you're going to do it normally with no mask set, you can typically start with lighter colours first and work your way up. But as is tradition with these mask sets with this kind of camo, you're going to do the darkest to lightest. So we're going to start with the darkest color. We're going to add the mask, spray in the lighter color, the mid color, should I say, add the mask. And then once those two dark kind of patches are masked off, you come back to the whole aircraft with the tan, the light color. So the choice of colors, what we're using here again, we obviously Mr. Hobby lacquer. So tan is going to be the overall color, number 44 per the instructions. Wood brown is the mid color, which is 43. And I don't have a lacquer version of the dark color, the green, but it's 309. I'm using the aqueous for the range. So this is the alcohol acrylic kind of synthetic version. I don't need to run out and buy a tub just for a little bit of brown. So we use that, and we use lacquer for the other two colors. You can mix them perfectly well. There's this misnomer, people say you can't put like lacquers over acrylics and acrylics over lacquers and enamels, that kind of stuff. That's kind of BS. If you've seen my channel for the last, well, no matter how many years I've always mixed paints and no problem, zero problems. The only thing is, just don't hose it on and don't let it dry. So don't put that coat down, let it dry, then put your coat on top. If you're trying to put, I don't know, acrylics over wet lacquers or vice versa, you're gonna have issues. But as long as your coats are drying in between for a few hours, you have no problems at all. Like, trust me. And again, you're not hosing this stuff on. You know, whenever we spray paint, we're misting stuff on and do light coats. Final color to talk about is a radome, and that's going to be obviously radome, which is H318, which is another aqueous color. So that's all the colors lined up. Now let's talk about the masks. My usual Aeromask, Jim Sorensen. Great guy, and just makes some really nice masks. And if I take them out here, you can see they are several sheets, vinyl, and numbered. which is a key. I can't remember what it was. Oh, the Vigan. That's when I did the Vigan, the 32nd scale Vigan. If you remember, the masks were nothing like this. They were all like weren't numbered. Didn't make sense. It was a real mess. But when we have numbers like this and it shows you kind of where they go up against and stuff, it makes things a little bit easier. And there's not too many. They're pretty spread out in these sheets, as you can see. And also, we're just going to be masking the splodges, for a better word. So the masks are here, and here's the instructions. And it kind of goes through what I just talked about, where you're going to do a lower color and do the darker, and it kind of talks you through the steps, and it shows you here where each color goes. And this is designed, okay, well, this is the Tamiya kit. So we might have a couple of little minor fit issues here and there. I'm guessing it should be pretty much spot on. I wouldn't anticipate too many issues. There might just be a case where we can add two. We might need a little masking tape to fill like a mil or two gap here and there, but there shouldn't be any issues. The Tamiya kit, this is for obviously using the HobbyBoss one, but all we're doing is masking splodges of browns and greens. Again, instructions you can see, pretty straightforward really. So tail, a good one to start with actually, I think, is it's probably going to be the horizontal stabilizers. Because with tails we've glued on, so I think if you start with the stabilizers, get your kind of feet wet, and you know, paint these first. Like put instructions here. Get these painted first, and then you can come back and paint the whole fuselage, whether it be in sections or this. This is not a particularly complex mask, so you probably just mask the whole thing or do it once. If you're doing something like a Vigan, you know, I did you saw in that video, I do sections at a time because it's so complex, and you kind of forget where you're painting and what you're doing. Whereas this one's a little bit more straightforward. So that's it. Talked through the game plan here. I'm going to mask those few areas off, the white areas, and then I'll get painting the underside, and we can kind of come back and see how we look. Right, so this is all dry now. I've done the underside in the 311, which we talked about, and went down no problem at all. Nice thin coat, so as you can see, we can still see that pre-shading shadow coat coming through, which means we have to do any post shading on this color. So yeah, no problem at all. So I'm gonna put this one to the side real quick, and let's mask up the stabilizers to make it a little bit easier to do on camera. All right, so these are painted on the underside, and we're gonna flip them over, and surprise, I painted the green, which is 309. Now I misspoke, so it's not brown, it's the green you do next. I think I mentioned, so the green's the second color per the instructions. It does help if you do read the instructions, which I don't do. And the only problem with these are, I guess being in the US, this is all in inches, like 0.88 inches. So that's a real pain in the ass. So I've got my computer open here with a conversion from inches to millimeters, and it's going to be 22 mil. So I think the good thing here is just go through here and maybe measure. If you're that keen, I'm not that anal about this. If the camera's a couple of millimeters out, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. Again, I'm not into historical accuracy. I'm into about building models and having fun. So 22 mil is where the green starts on this one here, and it's number 2. So all we're going to do is get our sheet and look for number 2. Peel it off. Oh. And I'm going to stick up my finger couple times just to take some of that tack off it, make it a little bit less tacky, so I don't whip all the paintwork away. And then with my ruler, I'm just going to measure roughly 22 mil, and that'll be my starting point. So there we go. That's number 2. On this one here, we can do as well. This is going to be, there's no dimensions on here, strange, but it's number 9. I'm guessing, yeah. So that's my number 9. And again, just on my arm here. Preferably not where my hairs are on my arm. Rip the hairs off. Take a little tack away, and we're just going to line it up. And there we go. Just push it down with my hand. Easy as that. So now we've done that. So the next part now is to paint the brown, the wood brown, in those 2 parts. Then we're going to mask that up, and then we'll paint the tan over the top. So we'll focus on these 2 little guys to give you an idea of what's going down, and then I'll just work on the main fuselage, because that's going to be a lot tricky to kind of work on the camera for you guys. So there we go. So that's the underside painted. We've got the green taken care of. Now we can come back with the wood brown, which is going to be 43. Okay, so the wood brown's down. It's been about an hour. This dries pretty quickly. So we can add the next two masks, which on this one, we're going to mask the wood brown we just painted, which is going to be 12. So this is number 12 right here. And we're just going to put it next to it. Like that. I just want to overlap it slightly so we get this the line on each side. So then you got a little bit of tan on the end. And this one here simply is going to go down the side. So there's no point putting a if it's just straight plain color, there's no point putting a vinyl down. So just build old masking tape and just cover it up. Boom. I'm just going to spray this part. So that's masked up. Now we're going to paint these up with the overall color, which is going to be the tan, which is 44. All right, so I literally just sprayed it like 2 minutes ago. Just sprayed it and cleaned my airbrush and came straight over, put the camera on. So as you see with the tan, I again just lightly sprayed it on. I didn't like hose the thing on, get a solid color, because you want some of that different colors coming through, even from the browns and the greens coming through. Get that kind of weathering kind of look. It saves us doing some post shading. So all we're now simply going to do is I'm just going to take the masking tape and pull it off, and that vinyl, and there we go. There's colors. And don't worry, I mean, I've done tons of camo markings and stuff, and it always looks very vivid. But once we get that post shading in there and get the wash on, or the pound line wash, it just blends it all together and it looks more natural. So right now it looks very stark, but don't worry. So what we'll do is later on, we'll basically take each of these colors, mix it some white to bleach it, and just very carefully airbrush the center of each color, and I'll just break it all up and look awesome. So let's take the masking off this one too. Fingers crossed, we're going to be in good shape. And there we go. Pretty cool. And the good thing about these are you can actually reuse these masks. So I'm going to put them on, I think I gave somebody took my F-14 mask. So I'll put these back on the paper, and maybe I can give these to one of my patrons or somebody who's interested in doing this scheme, because we can just reuse it. So there we go. So yeah, looking, oh, I just put a thing of red in it. Luckily this dries pretty quick, but there we go. That's the color schemes we're going with. Now I will go to work on the main fuselage, again off camera because it makes it a little bit easier. If there's anything to note, I'll come back in and kind of show you where I'm at as I work through. If there's anything to discuss, but hopefully it's pretty plain sailing. It's not a super difficult camo pattern here. It's just, you know, a few splodges here and there. The front's gonna be a little tricky, but the wings and stuff pretty straightforward. So if you are new to camo masks, this might be a good scheme for you, because again, it's pretty straightforward. It's not like a leaf splinter camo on a vegan or anything. Right, cool. So looking good, loving the colors. I'm going to put this to the side, and I'm going to get working on the rest of it. All right, so I've been going at it this evening and just put down the last coat of the tan about 20 minutes ago. I think we're good to go ahead and remove the masks from here. So carefully remove these, because like I mentioned before, they can be reused, so somebody else might make use of them. So I'm going to take a piece of paper here, just put them back on. And there we go. Looking very cool. Obviously, when you put the wings back, like I am, you can need some touch up here, which I need to do. So looking really good. Definitely a few areas to touch up here and there. I've got the radome to paint, but liking it. Very cool. Very liking it. So I didn't do the back end here because I think remember I was going to paint these back sections separately. You're probably better just kind of clip them in, paint it, and then take them off again. So I need to paint, some of this pattern's going to continue over these parts. So I need to paint up the back here, do some touch up, and then also go through and basically add some post shading, which is just taking the color I'm using, makes a little dash of white to lighten it, and just spray in between to break up the color. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it. So really happy how that one's turned out. Not too tricky. Definitely like the way you get the mask set for the bottom here too. That makes things a little bit easier. So yeah, so I'm going to do a few little touch-ups here and there. And yeah, looking very cool. So I'm going to do a few little touch-ups, carry on with this, get the radome painted, and we'll be right back. Alright, so we are finished with the main paint here, and really happy how it's turned out. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, this is my favorite part, and it's really just a painting, using mask sets, different interesting camo schemes, and then coming back and bleaching the paint down and post shading it. So in my element, and like this is my favorite part by far, I think, on this kind of stuff. So here is how she looks. Oh, just took the canopy off, right? So put the canopy down, and there she is in all her glory. And as you can see on the big camera, it's all bleached down, and we can talk about that in a minute. But really liking this scheme, and something very different. Yeah, liking it. So, ouch, it's got masking tape stuck on my hairs of my arms. That's not a good start. So here we go with the close-up camera, going around, and then this stuff dries pretty quickly. I mean, I'm masking within like 30 minutes or so, and going with the next color. And hopefully you can see the various effects and stuff. So using the mask set, it's kind of nice because you do get masks for the down the side here too, A, B, C, and D, which I didn't realize. So you mask those off and get, and away you go. So as with the stabilizers, we started with the green first, the dark green, and then masked it, painted the wood brown, masked that, and then came back with a tan. So that's how we did it. Radome for the for the nose cone here. And so that we got the main paint down, and with the lighter color, you definitely see the pre-shading coming through, but then I wanted to add a little bit extra. All my models, especially being an Iranian Persian Gulf desert-based aircraft, I want to really bleach it down a little bit. So what I did then was I took each color individually and dropped in my airbrush and added a drop of white paint, just basic Tamiya paint with a toothpick. Just drop it in the color cup, mix it up, and then lower your air pressure. So you want to get nice and close with this. So I was spraying the main colors about 20 psi. I dropped it down to about 10. Got about 2 inches away from 2 inches away from where I want to spray, and very lightly, not pulling back on the trigger at all, just very slightly, little paint just hit the inside of each kind of panel where I wanted to spray of each color. So starting with the green, hitting all the greens with light color, then get the tan out. Get wood brown out, add a lot of white to that one, hit the mid, and then so you're just spraying the center of each panel very gently, and what it does is give you this, effect to break up the paintwork and bleaches it back. So rather than having stark colors, you're muting the colors. Now a lot of people add yellows to greens, that kind of stuff to keep the same hue. With this, I just want it bleached, so I don't want to keep the hue. So that's why I add white, just to bleach it back. And as you see, it's looking pretty good, I think. I definitely like it. When you first put the colors on, it looks very stark. You get the post shading on, it mutes it back. And then next week when we do the wash, it just ties everything in together because it brings all the panel lines, go across all the colors, and it just brings it all in. It'll look super awesome, and definitely darken it too. So you definitely want to go kind of lighter because when you have those washes, it'll darken the paintwork. So again, lower the airbrush pressure. I went from about 20 spraying the whole thing down to about 10 for hitting these panels. And even with a little left over the radome, I sprayed a couple of panels of the radome color just to break it up a little bit too on various parts. But yeah, looking to business. One other thing to note is, typically with any F-14 US ones, these guys at the back, these parts at the back, I'm not sure exactly what they're called. I always paint those separately because you have to mask off the area and there's some metallic parts on there. In this scheme, the Iranian one, it's just painted the fuselage color. So don't paint them separate. I just waste of time and extra painting. So you just glue them on and then just paint them all as one. These two parts at the back here, which the nozzle's attached to. So yeah, so I did. So for me, I just had to paint them up, prime them separately, add them, and remask it, paint it all again. So just a few extra steps. but you could just simply just glue them on and look better, because mine's a slightly shade off. So glue them on and just paint it all as one. But there we go. That is the finished main paint of the aircraft. We obviously got more fun things to do. I got the bags to paint. I got these guys to paint, stick out, and various other little detail paint work. But generally, the main paint's down. I'm very happy with it, and we're ready to move on to the, I guess, decals next. Not too many decals on this next week, and then we'll weather it up once the decals are on. So, hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly enjoyed the last 24 hours painting this thing. It's a lot of fun. Especially, I love using different colors compared to the usual like ghost grays, and this was yeah, like I said, a lot of fun. Had a lot of, definitely got mojo flowing, and can't wait to carry on working on this aircraft. So thank you for watching and supporting, and I'll see you next week.